Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Oh, dude. Oh.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is so good to have everybody here for the morning grind. Welcome to my home, welcome to the office, and welcome to the morning grind. I'm Heath. It's great to have everybody here, and we actually have a very special morning grind today because we are coming up on CRIT, the community-run Infinite Tabletop online convention, and Chris, you know him as BGD, probably in our comments section, organized a meeting of a bunch of the game masters to talk about, well, the kind of games that we are running. I'm running two different games at CRIT. Maybe I'm going to get together a third one. We will see. But two different ones. We've got different game masters who are coming on, running a whole variety of different games. We'll be talking about, first of all, introducing ourselves, what kinds of games we're running, and then also our theory on what makes great one-shot games and what we're going to be bringing to the table, the virtual table here with CRIT. So I'm going to bring everybody on. We've got a lot of people who we're going to be introducing ourselves to you out there and then also to each other. We have a huge panel today. So Andrew, welcome, Andrew. Micah, Steve, the cat who walks through walls, welcome. And then Jerry, welcome. All right. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure.
So, we have got a list of different kinds of topics to go through here, but why don't we introduce ourselves? And Andrew, we can start with you if you'd like, and then go around.
I'm a fan of alphabetical, and it starts with my first name.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Andrew. I am one of the CRIT hosts. I'm part of the 5 or 6 of us lunatics who are helping put this whole thing together. I blame it all on Chris, actually, but we'll get to that later. I've been, I don't know how far we want to go into this. GM backstory, I'll pause for that, or I don't know how we want to do the format.
Well, when you, so you're one of the organizers, and you've got the crits, you've got the merchandise on right now. Yeah. So how did this get started? So you're one of the.
This started in 2023. It's a combination of a slight misconception of what a game jam is and people who just wanted to play games together. I don't know if any of y'all are like itch.io. They do game jams where for a week we make new games based on the product, right? Someone took that and went, let's play games for a week based on Runehammer, because we were all in the Runehammer Discord, and this spun up in about 30 days. I think we put together a pretty solid, I can't remember all the numbers. I know Chris would. But we put in a pretty solid bunch of games, and everyone had a great time, and it was like, hey, we should do this again. And then it was Rune Jammer at the time, because it was Runehammer plus Game Jam. It's a mess. But then first year was all index card. Next year we opened it up to anything in the Runehammer verse, and then everyone was like, what about, Shadow Dark? Runehammer worked on that. Or what about DCC? Because he talks about that. And so to get away, to kind of open it up a little bit better, we decided to push out the Rune Jammer and changed it to CRIT, so that it would be a little more all-inclusive, so people could bring like anything they wanted to the table that's good and fun.
All right, and we should say, so this is a free online gaming convention.
100%, 100% free. Nobody gets charged. If there's any complicated questions about how that works out, we can talk about it, but we can leave that minutia for another time.
Okay, I'll bring up the website where we go. All right, Micah, you want to introduce yourself? Let everyone know who you are and what it is you do.
Yeah, my name is Micah. I unload trucks for a living and think about D&D nonstop. It's a little bit of a problem, but it's a fun problem. So yeah, I've been running games for like 3 or 4 years now. It's to say that were it not for Hank's OSE recaps, I would never have felt comfortable again and just getting rolling. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Keep it real loose and just see what happens when we get into the table and all that. But yeah, that's me.
All right, Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So I'm Steve Kanaras. I was lucky enough to have been invited to be a GM this year, and I also was there last year, so I guess I didn't screw up too badly the first time. I've been playing RPGs on and off since high school, which goes back to the 80s. So I've seen a lot, played a lot. Currently, I run a lot of one shots for our groups. Like we have a regular game master who does like the longer campaign style, and so I play in those games. But when I run games, I like running Easy D6. I like running Monster of the Week, that kind of stuff. So a lot of one shot style stuff. During my daily life, I sell money and interest. I'm a mortgage broker, so. That's about me. Excited to be here.
All right, yeah. Doc Flamingo says, I think that Jerry, I just moved you. I think that might have been you, Jerry. Let's see. Well, yeah, let's go to the cat who walks through walls.
Well, as someone has already pointed out in the chat, not only am I a Robert Heinlein fan, I also have one of the longer handles on the internet, and it cuts down on a lot of spam. But I'm sorry for having placed that in there. My name is actually Matt, and when I was logging into this thing, it asked me what my username was, and I'm like, okay, username, not my real name. And that's why Heath was a little bit like, and we have someone who is called this book title. But at any rate, I am an English teacher of over 20 years. I teach in Cambridge, Massachusetts at a private school. I have been running games with my RPG accountability partner, Steve Kanaras, for about 40 years. So he and I started role playing together years and years, decades ago, really. I am mostly interested in the drama behind art. Well, maybe as you can tell by like my gesticulating and all that, I'm interested in pacing, drama, storytelling, fast action, and kind of keeping things moving. But at the same time, I'm very interested in building like plots and stories. So as I mentioned, I've been RPGing for something like 40 years. And at CRIT, I'll be running a couple games of Easy D6, DM Scotty McFarland, the Craft Masters game. So yeah, that's me. Take it away, Heath.
All right, well, let's go to Jerry. I got you. There we go, Jerry.
All right, is my I'll introduce myself. Is my mic just troubling you? Is that what's going on, Heath?
Well,
Sorry about that.
I think it was too high and you were breathing into the mic. We heard breathing in the mic.
I am an obligate mouth breather, so there you go. I am Jerry Whiting, and I hail from Central Utah. I grew up ranching and farming and became a 7th grade science teacher, and I've been doing that for the past about 10 years. So what got me into gaming was like in my early 30s, so about, I don't know, 10 years ago, a friend invited me over and said, hey, let's play some D&D. And I was like, what's D&D? He's like, just come. So he invited me, my wife and me, and my brother and his wife, and we started playing Lost Mines of Phandelver. And in the opening scene, when Gundren Rockseeker, right, that dwarven merchant, hires you, I thought, dude, I'm hooked. And I haven't looked back. So anyway, I rope anyone I can into playing, and then I do kind of run the GM or DM after school club, like for D&D at my school. So I've been running that for last 7-8 years. So
I have to say I'm envious of people now who get to do that. When I was in school, they took away our dice because they thought we were gambling with them. It was
or
like
worshiping the devil.
Yes, that was also the other one. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they didn't let us have polyhedral dice at school either. When I was in. All right, we want to talk about. I do have the screen up where I've got different. I've got the games up, so we should talk about what kind of games we're running. I put up the main website a moment ago. Let's go. Whose is this one right here? Tales of Maquette.
That's mine.
Okay, you want to tell us about it?
Tales of Maquette. It's all good. It's French. I had to figure it out too. It's a setting I've written. And I'm working on the GM section now, but that's beside the point. Basically, it's a swashbuckling adventure, musketeer inspired. So like 3 Musketeers, actually a little John Wick in there. That high action, high fantasy, high like SWAT, big action. Set in a suit. We shaved off the serial numbers on that era of France, and I'm putting this together. Like all good one shots, it's. You start at the entrance to the dungeon, as it were. In this case, you're trying to save the king from a bunch of mercenaries, and poof, let's see what happens. So that's what this is about. It should be. I think I've got 2 out of 4 seats. I try to keep my tables a little small so that we can keep things moving. I know some folks like big tables, but I think 3 to 4 is the sweet spot for con games. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. This will be fun. So the intro is as you can read it, but to me the intro serves as like when I read this, I want to go, yes, I am at this moment. This is where the players start. when we set up characters, there'll be more chat about how you got here. But instead of you start at the tavern and you go down the road and then you get to the place, it's no, you're at the place now. You know, take out that travel section, that intro section, and it helps push the story. To me, I think this is a 2.5 hour game, so I want to keep it, nice and fast and in a good way. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. This will be fun. Oh, did we lose our host?
Merciful Lord in heaven above,
we've been left to our own devices.
Our captain is gone. It's missing. I don't know. Well, who's running the channel now?
Let the mice play. I did hear someone say Monster of the Week, and I was thinking about running a game of that for this, or for CRIT, but I haven't put that together yet. I love Monster of the Week, by the way.
I'm really excited for the Tales of McKay. That sounds awesome. So,
thank you. I'm excited to run it. I've done it in with myself and a couple of people just to test my system, and now it's okay, let's see what other people do with this.
Well, Andrew, you were saying that you were developing this as your own setting.
Yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you for facilitating.
Not a problem. I host my own YouTube channel, and I'm also an English teacher used to younger people who can't always speak up with what they. So please.
I started about a year ago on it, and it was just I had been reading Count of Monte Cristo. I'd been watching the Three Musketeers BBC show and some stuff like that, and I was like, has no one done this for ICRPG yet? And so I started thinking through, okay, what would I bring to that table, right? I've been running a lot of Altered State at the time, which if you don't know about that, that's the cyberpunk setting for ICRPG setting that uses it brings in a mechanic called I'm going to blank on this because I need to know it right now.
No pressure. No pressure. It's not like our host is missing. Don't worry.
I know, right? It uses something called surge dice, which basically it's 4 dice you get each session that you can use to basically negate damage, add to your own rolls, or I think the rules say bend the reality of what's possible. I wanted to use something similar. I called it bravado, and you earn it by you get one whenever you crit. You get one whenever I added something. I think it's bonds, truths. There's one more thing, and I just forgot it. It's 3 things to help your character develop. I kind of borrowed it a little bit from Monster of the Week, a lot of that Powered by the Apocalypse style system where you interconnect characters in the world. So whenever you work in those things, you get a point of bravado, and bravado works similarly. You can add it to dice, subtract it from dice from foes, etc., etc. So that's that's the heart mechanic that really makes it different than other. I know the Waste is Not Kind has its adrenaline and grit system, and those little add-ons make these systems shine to me. So that's what I did.
And you built that on top of ICRPG?
Correct.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't have the designer brain yet to go out and make my own system. I thought about it, but I decided I was going to go somewhere I was safe. I've been running ICRPG for about 3.5 years now, so I felt like that was a good. And I've done at this point Alfheim, Warp Shell, Altered State. I did a little bit of Ghost Mountain. I'm looking over my bookshelf trying to remember what else I've run for it. Yeah. So, and I played in Glock's. Oh, what is it? Safe Zone, his post-apocalyptic zombie game. So I've got a little bit of experience in a lot of stuff for that system, and I've been really enjoying it. Something about the D20 roll high that just gets me. Our host is back though. Hello, host.
I'm back. Yeah, of course. I'm the one who has technical problems. My
Save
power
us.
surged while I was, and so everything I had to reset everything. Sorry about that. All right.
No worries.
Let's talk about. I don't know what you guys have been talking about, but Alien Aftermath. Whose is this one?
That would be my game. And I'm going to give kudos where kudos goes from. But ever since the Runehammer store there in Philly opened up, I wanted to kind of go to the motherland, so to speak, and make a pilgrimage back to the Runehammer shop. And there happened to be in the end of first part of February, I think, maybe end of February, I can't remember now. And what happened was they posted online an aliens themed like 2-day, 3 huge sessions of tabletop game playing. And that was Brandon Gillum and Alex Alvarez. So the first night we got there, and well, I got there, I went by myself and found just like a room after hours full of terrain and probably like 150 xenomorphs on the table. And this table was like huge. It was like 6 foot by like 10 foot or something like that. And it was just covered in minis. And they're like, all right, you guys can be the Marines, or you can be the xenomorphs. And it was like, okay, sounds good. And we separated into 2 different groups, and we started playing. And the end result of that affected the next game, which then Brandon GM'd using Alien RPG, dice and rule set, which was a blast because I had never played it before, but really easy to pick up. And then those events got fed into Alex Alvarez, his final like 4-hour session there in the Octagon, and he had a mechanic. We were playing ICRPG for the last one, and Alex Alvarez had a really cool mechanic, and it's called stress dice. So you roll a d20 just like normal to meet or beat the target number or the room DC. And what you can do is, let's say you fail, but your buddy's going to die next round. So what do? So you want to guarantee a success. So Alex said, well, you can roll a d4 on top of that. So you roll your d20, you failed, and you can say, hey, I'd like to stress my character and have an automatic success. Okay, great. But from then on, you're rolling a d4, and you have to subtract your d20 rolls with whatever your d4 is. So the next time and that's for everything. So it's like, hey, I want to use my flamethrower to like roast a bunch of xenomorphs my next turn. Okay, great. You're going to have to go ahead and roll, your dex modifier, and all right, go ahead and roll, but you -4. So if the target number is, 13, and you roll a 16, but your stress dice, you rolled a 4, you fail. And so it was really interesting to see who took stress for their characters and who didn't. And Brandon was playing at our table, and I think by the end he had like 3 stress dice, and he was still like doing really, really well. And I think the room DC was like 14 or something like that. And he was still being really successful because he was rolling like a crazy man that night. So I went to that and just was so totally, I love aliens and the whole cinematic, that universe, and so I thought, dude, what would happen if the kind of games I love to play or DM rather, are kind of like Quentin Tarantino style games wherein you can alter history. So, Inglourious Bastards, they assassinate Hitler early, right? In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, those 2 girls don't get murdered. And it's like, in your mind, it's almost like, wow, what really did happen, and what was reality and what was history? And I just really love the idea that you can affect the world around you in such huge ways like that. And so what I thought of in Alien Aftermath was, all right, you've got Alien, right? Then you have aliens, and then you have the end of the movie. But the fate of Sergeant Apone, right, and the medic, Meredith Dietrich, we don't know exactly what happened to her. So if you're going to have new colonists come to this world, what would that look like? And so if you allow your mind, or I kind of tried to have my mind just explore all the possibilities that I possibly could that would make sense in that, like universe. Could you actually save Apone, and what would that look like? And how cool would it be if the party actually chose to do that? And so that's kind of where my game is like headed for this one. I'm doing several other games, but this is the one that I thought would be. It's the one that I'm most excited to play, and I still got 3 open spots. So anyone who wants to save a brother, come and his medic, come
I was
come
about to
join.
say, yeah, that there are 3 left. So I put the link there, and we should say that with Tales of the McKay as well. You've got 2 slots available still here.
Yep, 2
So
left.
if you'd like to get in on that, both of those do have slots open. All right, how about Bones and Metal? Easy D6.
Oh my goodness,
Yours?
that would be the cat who walks through walls. And
All
and
right.
I appreciate you saying that rather than just trying, or at least like trying to remember my name. I understand. I wish
Oh,
I could
Matt.
switch this thing. You got it. Nice work. You are a true host.
I remember. I figured that
uh,
when I saw Easy D6, so you were talking about running that one, so I figured this one must be
Right.
yours.
Right. So I'm running DM Scotty's Easy D6, and I guess there were like 2 eras to my role playing. There was the beginning era where I really liked very crunchy stuff, and I liked a ton of rules and rules heavy games where there was something for everything. But I guess in the last 10, 15 something years, I've really been getting into stuff that's very streamlined and kind of light and very malleable rules wise. And I'm choosing to I'm running Scotty's Easy D6 because I'm actually developing. There's 2 systems I really love right now, and one is Cipher System from Monte Cook Games, which is also very easy to run, and then there's Scotty's Easy D6. And like actually Andrew, I'm developing my own setting, which I'm calling Bone and Metal. I've been working on it for about a year and a half or so, and I have the immense, enormous manuscript that I'm putting together right now. And it's been kind of nutty putting it together, but it's been like a wonderful sort of learning experience, because for the real first time in my life, I'm sitting down and I'm really examining the rules and how they work and how they're meant to work in a game, and testing things out on my players, and sort of learning why things work the way they work. And I'm sort of learning that I have tendencies to go towards a lot of crunch, I guess, as far as when I'm writing. But then when I'm playing, I have a tendency to go towards a simpler, more streamlined form, because it's like I don't want to deal with a bunch of crunch in the middle of a game. And so, in short, just to get to it, Bone and Metal is actually I guess the way that I would describe it is Seven Samurai meets The Dark Crystal. And it takes place in feudal Japan, roughly, late 1500s, early 1600s, at a time when a series of alien artifacts have kind of collided with the Earth, and sort of littered the Earth with an alien material called the Strange Mist. And this strange mist has kind of infused the different, for lack of a better word, the different elements around the Earth: wood, fire, wind, earth, void, and I'm probably forgetting one just because I'm forgetting one. But it has infused these materials, and also it has uplifted the animals and downlifted the humans, sort of infecting them and spreading a plague that's wiped them out. And so there's this kind of tension between the animals who have become anthropomorphic and the humans who are sort of on their back footing, struggling to survive. And so I'm running 2 games, actually. One is Poison Tigers. The other one is the Rainy Season. But the long and the short of each game is that in the Rainy Season, the players are kind of put in a position where they need to defend a village that's actually been under attack from bandits, and they need to help the villagers themselves sort of pick themselves up and defend themselves. And then in Poison Tigers, there's a little bit more of a maybe a ticking clock, in which the characters need to sort of solve a mystery about the disappearance of a few NPCs, figure out where they've gone and what's happened to them. So the big thing, or at least the different thing with the EasyD6 that I'm running and what I'm developing for the system is that I've developed crafting rules. I've developed an honor point system in which the scene itself is affected by the sort of status of the players during the game, and then those two things kind of add some flavor to the game that EasyD6 wouldn't otherwise have. And that's not anything against EasyD6. It's actually, in my mind, it's a compliment to EasyD6 in that it is so hackable. It runs on a D6. That's really it. So the sky's the limit for what you want to do to modify it, to change it, to sway it one way or another. And I've obviously maybe the two systems that I'm sort of adding in there, the two hacks I'm adding in there, there's nothing new to them, but the particular combination that I'm using, I think, is rather unique. The setting is unique. And yeah, I've just spoken for probably way too long. Take it away, Heath.
Yeah, you can't. If you go down, Mike or Matt, if you go down to the bottom and you click on your image, like the three dots, you can. It says edit name and headline. So you.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. I was just worried. I was so. Oh, there we go. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hit any buttons and take any powers away from anyone else or cut myself off. So thank you, Heath, for that. I appreciate it.
And is there still room in that game right now?
Probably. Oh my goodness, there are 4 seats available. Can you believe it, folks? I actually had 100 seats available earlier, and now there are only 4 left. I'm kidding. There was a limit
low
of
price
4.
of $0. You
yes, for the low price of I'll pay you. Please join my game. And actually, like a few people have kind of already said here, 4 is my sweet spot. I'm not like a Kevin Ciambieta type guy who will run for like 30 people in a room at a party. I really prefer to spend a little bit of time with each player and make sure that we can kind of like get to everyone. And I find that the way I run games, when I run larger games, people tend to wait. And I don't ever want that to happen. I want people to get maximum GM time, maximum time in the spotlight, maximum time on the stage. So if anyone here wishes to take pity on me and fill those 4 slots, my mother says I'm a very good game master. Please.
Well, I think it says 2 tickets are available, so 2 slots may have already been taken.
Look at that. 50% are gone already. I'm such a good salesman.
All right.
Shyster. Snake
Goblins.
All right. That's
Who's
me.
running?
So
that's Micah. Okay.
So Goblins actually began as a GM-less game that I was playing with my brother. We used the Rune Hammer Think deck, and we just rolled some d6s to generate what was in each room as we went. We made up a little faction of goblins we could roll on the table to see who's in each room. And then I ran it again for my my home game crew and kind of tied it into their campaign. So basically, I like to call it a dungeon run because you're going through tunnels and you're fighting goblins and trying to avoid traps, but there's a ticking clock because you're trying to find these hostages and rescue them before the goblins boil them alive and eat them. So should be like lots of action and lots of danger. And I always say, like, I always talk a big game for killing player characters. I don't like killing player characters, but I do want you to always feel like you're on the edge of dying. So it's a tough, right? Like I want you to be close to dying, but if it happens, I'm always sad. But yeah, so that's kind of what Goblins is all about. It's very much in the past, especially, it's been very procedurally generated. So we're kind of like rolling as we get to each room to see what's in there, and maybe you'll save the hostages or maybe you won't. So this year we're also trying out some pre-generated characters. Daisy from the ICRPG community is putting together a big list of characters where she's come up with all these unique abilities, and basically she has done very, very ICRPG style character generation. She found pictures that she liked, and then she just invented all the abilities and gear that these characters would use. It's just like, that is so, like, that's classic ICRPG character design. So pretty excited to see what those characters look like in play, and yeah, see if they can save the hostages before they run out of time.
And that, yes, that's being run ICRPG. I was just looking at that down here, and you've got, and there are 2 tickets available still. There are still 2 tickets available on that game as well. So get in on Micah's game too. All right, next up, let me put it up back up on screen. The next EZD6, that must be you, Steve, right?
That is correct.
All right. Tell us about the mystery of Stately Dane Manor.
So when Chris asked me to pick which game to highlight for this show, I picked my favorite game, and then also just realized that it's probably going to be the most difficult one to talk about because it's a mystery, and I don't want to give away the mystery. But so I'll just talk in general terms. As you can read there, it's going to be a haunted house type story. You know, for anybody that's, you know, aware, obviously there's a pun in there, and we definitely lean into the pun. You know, this is a call it horror / fantasy / comedy adventure. It's a little bit Scooby-Doo, a little bit, you know, killing stuff, you know, and I think people have a ball with it. I can't help injecting comedy into my games, and I certainly,
we appreciate it, Steve.
yeah, you know, and I mean, sometimes maybe I get overbearing, but as a GM, I
do,
feel
but we
like,
still appreciate it.
I feel that, especially for, you know, a convention type game, or even any type game, like, people want to have fun with these things, right? And you know, I love long form, you know, dramatic, even melodramatic stuff. But, you know, when you're getting together for 3 hours, munching on popcorn and pizza, you want to have fun. You want to have laughs. Now, what I like to do with this particular adventure, which I've run twice before, and the 2 times that I've run it, players took it in completely different directions, which is part of my GMing style. I like to let players do what they want to do, and then kind of mold the game around what they want to do, without them knowing it. So anybody watching, it's 100% railroaded and pre-planned. Don't worry about it. There's no improv whatsoever. But seriously, it's you know, it's about having fun, but it's also about subverting expectations. And, you know, this you know, fantasy and certainly haunted houses lend themselves to that, because you never know, is it really haunted? Is it a you know, the old innkeeper in a mask? Who knows? But you'll find out. And I invite anybody to have a, you know, that wants to have a good time. And you know, is there danger? Sure, you can. You know, I don't have the glee of killing characters necessarily that, what was it, Micah
I don't know.
had,
You killed me. You killed me pretty quickly in this game. We played a game a couple of years ago where he was very, he didn't hesitate. I mean, maybe it was personal. It was like 30 years, 40 years of animosity, but
setting up the stakes. It's got to,
yes,
yeah.
I will only
yes,
say
right, the other characters
that the only characters that have ever died in my games died as a result of their poor decision making.
Yes, I remember that. There was one time he knocked me out when I had a jetpack on in a cave, and my body kept like ramming the top of the cave, knocking all the stalactites off. So that was something. He set this precedent in high school 40 years ago, people.
So at any rate, if you want to have fun, if you want to really, The reason I love EZD6, and I know we're going to get into mechanics and stuff later, but it doesn't get in the way of the fun. There's never a time during a game that I'm going to be consulting a table in a rule book to see what happens.
I may have to talk to the Easy D6 game masters soon, because I was started doing an Easy D6 adaptation of one of my worlds, but I didn't feel like I was quite getting it right, so it only got partially done. So, all right, so that there are still slots available for that. Yes, there are still 4 seats available there. So come on in. Chris did send me a PDF of like everything that's currently available. I'm not sure what the best way to put that up is, but yeah, so there are also seats available there. I put the link, and all of the links to all of the different events that we're highlighting are down below in the description as well. I've been trying to put them in the comments as we go, but everything is down below.
I was about to say, I think the only night we don't have games available or open seats, I think it's Friday, the 27th. Everything else seems to we have a smattering of games. We're about 50% full on seats. So it looks like we're filling up nicely, but so don't miss out.
Andrew, how many games are running, maybe say in total?
We're doing, I think this year's 108, 107, something like that.
You're kidding. Wow.
Almost 500 seats.
Wow.
Yeah, I monitor that a little too religiously, I won't lie.
That's good though. I think it's really good. Like so far, like just to sort of from my own perspective, like I was contacted by Chris, and like it's been run really tightly, really professionally, and really like thoroughly. Like I received these regular emails from Chris that like they give every beat, every detail you need in order like to get to say this Zoom chat or this chat, or get to my link or get to whatever. And it's really been top notch. And there's been a lot of follow up too. It's not like the day after all this happened, because last year was my first year, and I think it was your second year.
Yep.
Was that? So it was my first year, and the day after, like Chris was following up with emails thanking us and asking us how it went and what went right, what went wrong, how to improve, what to like emphasize. Like it's been, I'm not trying to sell the thing. I guess I kind of am, but I'm not. I don't have any reason to. But like it's been a really good experience, positive experience for me as a game master and as someone that just needs like to feel like there's someone in control and working in the background. And I've always felt that.
Yeah, I think we have we've been fine tuning how much communication, because you can go too far and you go too light, and it's like I'd rather go a little too far, because if you're not enjoying it, then you can just tell us, hey, a little less email or a little less pings.
I didn't need that email about my colonoscopy the other day. That was a little too thorough.
You should see your doctor.
Yes,
you're of the age.
Yes. Everyone, that's right. 40s and 50s.
Chris says that the PDF he sent was open game tables with no seats taken yet, so people can assemble their in real life friend groups and sign up for CRIT together. So I just posted that. I posted that in the Ravenkeep Discord server under the Morning Grind. And so if you are here and you're not part of the Ravenkeep Discord server, I put a link to the Discord there, and so you can find that PDF under the Morning Grind channel right there.
There we go. I will say one of the big things for us is also letting someone, I think I saw someone in the chat mention being a forever GM. That's part of this is, hey, if all you're doing is running, I take time off from running my games to play, and that's part of why we wanted this to happen, is so that this forever GMs could take a sit at the table, because it's a different experience and helps you as a GM when you see what other people are doing. I've had the opportunity, like Jerry, to sit with Brandon of Runehammer and see how he runs a game, and that's a different experience. He runs a game very differently than I do. I get a little frustrated at yes no dice all the time, but I see why he uses them and why he loves them. But I think playing with different people makes you a better GM, and expanding your games. Like I enjoy, like I'm just going to say all this stuff. I'm running a game of Altered State, which is ICRPG, my Tales of McKay. I'm also running The Quiet Year, which actually isn't an RPG. It's a map making game, but it's real fun. And I'm actually running a one shot of Blades in the Dark, because I think that system, it's such a good fun system. I've run a couple of one shots for other people. I've run 2 long-term campaigns in it. It's like it and ICRPG are like my 2 favorite systems right now, and I think that they don't not exactly play well together, but they are interesting to see together.
You know who's really good? And I assume he's running for this. DM Scotty he must be, right?
Yep.
I mean, and his games must be like sold out. I would assume, like at this point. Scotty, like I learned a lot from Scotty's games, like a lot. And I think I told you before, I come from a very crunchy kind of background where I was very much into crunchiness in the beginning, and Scotty's like very much the opposite of that. Obviously, he's the author of Easy D6. And I remember sort of, I years ago, like when he sent the system to me and he asked me to sort of take a look at it, and he said he was going to run for like Steve and myself and a few of my other, friends. He was going to run like a game for us just to sort of test it out. And I looked and I'm like, these are the rules. It's like a pamphlet. And there's like just a bunch of tables here. And like, I remember like, and this is my clearest memory from the first game is rolling for the equipment I had. And I had like 3 things. And I'm like, how am I going to use like a lantern, like a bladder of oil, and I don't remember what the other thing was, right? And I'm like, equipment list, what is this? And like, sure enough, every one of these things, and I don't know if it's just his vast amount of experience that he's had or what, but like, sure enough, all of those things, including the equipment that the other players had rolled for, they all came into like, they became a necessity in the game. And I don't know if he's boiled the equipment list down to their very essence, and he knew exactly the sort of things to be able to use in combination to create scenarios, but he was excellent. And I mean, that was one of the things that really sold me on Easy D6, which is published by Runehammer, by the way.
Speaking of Runehammer, right there.
Oh my gosh, is he? Oh no! Oh, he's here.
Hold on.
Yeah. Let me. Well, my tie. I don't have my. Yes, sir. Good to see you, sir.
Welcome. Good to see you here. We want to talk for a moment about, and we don't have to do this like, person by person. We can get a conversation going here about what type. I didn't say what game I was running, and then we can go to that. I should probably do that.
Go ahead.
If people are interested. Where did my screen go? So I guess the one that I'm highlighting here is one games that we've been developing here on the channel. The Tales of Rabavania is my world. I'm going to be running it in the index card RPG. I've been working on an index card adaptation of it live online on the Morning Grind. And that's what we've been doing and we'll continue to do over the next few Morning Grinds. This is a low fantasy 13th century medieval world of anthropomorphic rabbits. Mice, raccoons are the barbarians. This is inspired by, it's got a lot of Arthurian legends in it. I'm inspired by like Errol Flynn's Robin Hood. I watched that all the time as a kid. Also the 1950s Ivanhoe, that style kind of medieval adventure, except for this is brought into a world of rabbits. You can probably see lots of rabbits toys behind me. These are different prototypes and things that I've developed. And so I'm bringing this to the gaming table. So we're going to be doing an adventure in the Old Forest, which is like knights errant, and also those who are accompanying them, like the damsels of the royal blood, the druids, even a witch, if you'd like to be. We'll have pre-generated characters, and then we're going to go into an adventure in the old wood here. So if that seems like your kind of style, we will be doing that. I'm going to have pre-generated characters. We'll be working on those online as well here on the Morning Grind on the channel. And I've been posting also, if any of you are active on the ICRPG Reddit, I've been taking the different character classes and I've been posting them and getting feedback over there on Reddit. This one is booked, but he says right here, please join the wait list. Chris keeps asking me to come up with a new time to to open up another game. So I
got it. When you get those sold out games, it means people want to play it.
Yeah.
That's the push.
Yeah.
So all right. So So we want to talk about for a moment. We can go for a little while longer. You want to talk about the philosophy or the style of your game, especially one shots and things like this in this type of environment. Because I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that it's an underdeveloped skill to be able to sit down and get people into a game. And like to me, and I don't know if you guys are doing this or not, but to me, pre-generated characters are a big part of that. If you've only got, and we talk about this quite a bit on the channel, if you only have 2 to 3 hours to play, which is quite common, whether that's in an online environment like this or just as adults getting together to be able to play, and not being able to commit to years, every Friday night for the next, 10 years, you have people who come over and want to play for, you got 2 to 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. You've got to have a great adventure. You want to show people, often showcase a world or something like that. To me, pre-generated characters are a big part of that. Let's not start with an hour of character generation. So what do you want to play? Like, I hate it when it starts like that, personally. If we're just here to sit down and play, I don't ever mind being handed, a pre-generated character.
So I think for CRIT, it's a little different, right? So if you're signed up for a game at CRIT, we've set up a forum on the index card community server so that people can interact with the GM, right? So that gives you an up on the, we're just doing a one shot. Because then you can talk about building characters asynchronously. Hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. Or if Heath, if you just like, here you go, guys, take a look at these, and then you can talk about them, right? That opens that up. But for my, like in life / if I was doing something online, 100% pre-gens are amazing. They help. And that means you can give them like short blurby backstories, the way they communicate, like they interact with each other, right? This person knows this person, and that helps. Hey, here are the sheets. Take 10 minutes, read them over. Let's talk about it. All right, now let's go. That's kind of how I do them when I do pre-gens, is I try to hook them all together somehow. It's also going back to Monster of the Week. Monster of the Week has a really good system where everyone's kind of connected to everybody. And I try to do that with one shots. That helps because that cements like bonds. Hey, I know you because of this. Let's talk about that for a second. That helps. Makes the game fuller. Even if you're just doing a dungeon run, it can make it fun.
Can I just insert real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
The opposite swing of that would be discovery play, of course. And I do both. So I think I have 3 games where I have pre-gens, and then where it seems appropriate, I'll go ahead and do discovery play. Because I really, like, as a game master, I really like tactical infinity. I really love just seeing a character and, oh, hey, I literally have nothing because I'm a prisoner in, like, Blackmore Castle. Like, okay, great. What are you going to do? Well, what can I do? Well, it's a TTRPG, man. You can literally do anything. So
that's such a bad question. What can I do? Is anything is the bad. I get that's the answer, but I'm also like, ooh. Then like I've had people just shut down for that answer.
Yeah, I feel the same way, especially like dealing with 12 and 13-year-olds all day, every day. So I say, then I give a couple of examples. It's like, well, like there's a rusty lock over here that's keeping your particular like cell closed, but as you look down, you see that your fingernails have been super long as you've endured torture for the last month and a half, and your fingernails are at least an inch long. So what you could do is stick that nasty fingernail into the hole and see if you can pop that lock, bro. So go ahead and let's roll some die. And I think that's one of the keys in either my pre-gens or my discovery play sessions is you got to get those dice like rolling in like 30 seconds. Set up the scenario. Okay, great. And all right, what do you want to do? And as a GM, you're always, I really agree with what Matt said. It's a cooperative, emergent storytelling. Where's the emotional gravitas, and get those players caring about the player characters and with each other, and let's roll some bones. So.
I generally haven't had pre-gens. I mean, I always have them available for people who don't bring them. Last year's event, I think maybe one person used a pre-gen, but most people, I think maybe it's because of the audience that we're playing to in this event. Most are fairly seasoned gamers, if not the system. I actually had a bunch of people who had never played EZD6 before, but they were veterans of, RCRPG or something else. So I think, I think some of them like playing pre-gens because they don't want to, think of a backstory. D&D people are notorious for like typing up 20 pages of backstory, which doesn't necessarily lend itself great to a
Oh
one
no,
shot.
Steve!
But
Look, the comment section is exploding now. You've angered them all. They're coming for us.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, in a one shot, you've got a more limited time. But I think the original question was, what unique stuff for a one shot, and I think, for me, a satisfying one shot really does have to have a story arc. Like it can't just be, I mean, sure, of course it can be you go into 3 rooms, kill 3 monsters and walk off with the treasure. It can be that. And you could have a great time doing that. But unless there's something a little bit deeper, and whether that's solving a mystery, saving somebody, something happening, even if it's to a player. And I'll never pick on a player to be a victim, right? Like to make a story plot. That's not fair to that individual, and it's really not fair to the rest of the team. But I'll certainly have no problem killing an NPC if that's what it needs, and make them care about it or something like that. But I think that in order for the players and even me as a GM to feel like we accomplished something, the story has to have a satisfying end. Otherwise, you're just kind of left dangling, and I don't think that that's a lot of fun for anybody.
Yeah, I think that's actually super key. Like there needs to be like landmarks, and like everybody was sort of talking about how you don't want to do character creation and talk about all that stuff and all that. I think the idea for me is kind of maintaining some sort of momentum and generating an interaction between players as we go. And I think what happens is that, like, as human beings, we're kind of very used to the very traditional way of interacting where we first meet and then we introduce ourselves and then we talk a little bit about who we are and then we start to sort of poke and prod and learn about each other. But I mean, I think in a one shot, I think it's important to just sort of throw people in. And then my job as the game master, not unlike being a teacher, is to sort of figure out who can do what, who came here for what, how do I balance that together? How do I make sure everyone has a good experience? And then how do I facilitate communication, either as just human beings or as the characters themselves? And so I tend to start with, I'll start with pre-gens. But if people want to sort of slowly abandon them or whatever and go off in an original direction with them, I'm totally fine with that. And I feel like my job is, when you sort of first meet for a meeting or whatever, sometimes you'll have like an icebreaker that's 5 or 10 minutes long. And then after the icebreaker, you get down to the nitty gritty. And I think for me, the whole 2 or 3 hours of the game is an icebreaker in and of itself. Like there are multiple icebreakers throughout the game where different aspects of people's personalities, say, are sort of like allowed to shine. So I may have, like Steve was saying, I'm a big believer in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and having like a series of beats. And when I teach, what I try to do is open the class with a question. And then by the end of the class, I want the students to sort of feel like they've answered the question or they have information to go out and seek the answer. And so the same thing I think holds true with a game. Like I open my games with a question, a conundrum, a problem, something that needs doing. And then they explore it further with like maybe one ice-breaking event, which is like a big thing that like gets everyone talking. And then it sort of gives a few different paths for the players to follow. And then I have sort of a second one, maybe for a midpoint sort of planned. And then I have a third planned as well. But sort of progressively as we stray off the beaten path, because what I'm really trying to do is help those players build that story sort of for themselves. And I may have had a great idea for an ending, but if they're spinning it in a certain direction, I don't want to quash that. On the contrary, I want them, if they're all excited to talk about like, the monster that's waiting at the end of the path, I want to maybe subvert their expectations a little bit, but still satisfy them enough that they are like, we did it, and we started with A, we went to B, we got C, and now we're all set to go. And if anything, I want them to be hungry maybe for more, and sort of, end on a high note like that. So it's my approach.
Well, and also like BGD was talking about as well, that some people, when I was talking about the pre-gens, some people may have time before the week, to create characters or things like that. And you may be in conversation with your players. I was talking about like, okay, everybody shows up, assuming you haven't been in contact, about games. Yeah, the game before and the week prior or something like that. You could totally do it that way as well. I was just talking about in terms of maximizing play time when you sit down. Although, like with EZD6, not maybe the case, I often do talk about like 15-minute character generation. So some
great.
games may be able to, like, let's not, if you only have 2 to 3 hours, you don't, like, to me, you don't really want to spend more than 15 minutes creating characters. If you can do it in that kind of time, then.
I mean, if you're running a system like Cairn, I played a game of Cairn a couple years ago with Baron Durop, and it was literally, all right, we're rolling like 4 dice and picking a couple items, and we're moving. It was just like,
yeah. And in fairness, I mean, creating characters can be a lot of fun. I think that's great. Like, I think that's actually excellent in some ways, because sometimes, again, like, I think it comes down to sort of like trying to understand your players, or, testing your players and sort of seeing a little bit about what they're looking for, what they want, what they need. And then you sort of decide, like, at least I do as a GM, kind of on the fly, like, okay, I think I'm going to run with this for this guy, that for that person, this for that person. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of Runejammer 23 and Runejammer 24 has been creating characters with players before the games. I don't think any of my players have used pre-gens in past years, maybe 1 or 2. So I'm going to be offering them for all the games I'm running. I think it's a great resource. And then we're testing daisies for the Goblins game. But it's a lot of fun if you do have the time to talk with the players beforehand. And last year, one player character in particular, a couple of like spells that she picked ended up completely finding the sort of the aesthetic and the vibe of the game. So I knew, like, oh, you're gonna climb up the steps, and then you're gonna be in the village. You're gonna be fighting these undead creatures, and then there's gonna be a big monster waiting in the church at the top of the hill. But the spells that she picked showed me, okay, we're gonna do like an eldritch horror theme instead of just an ice monster theme. So the character became really tied in with the village.
That's good.
It's not something you can typically do for a one-shot, but the way CRIT is set up, you do have that opportunity. So when you can do that, it's a lot of fun. Otherwise, yeah, pre-gens are fun. I love random character generation for that reason, because I don't have to make decisions. I'm just going to roll dice. Happens. We're going to get going. I also love discovery play. So
say more about that. What is that? Talk more about that.
You start with a blank sheet of paper, and you just start right where the action happens. And an easy way to do it is, you wake up in a dungeon, you don't quite remember who you are or where you are, just start doing stuff. But you can even start, like, I've done something where you're like walking down the road. Oh, you're just soldiers coming back home from the war, and then you stop and camp by the road. Something ambushes you. You don't need to know anything before you really get rolling, and then we just see what your characters do. What you see, what happens.
It's a lot of the systems define what you get by how your character reacts. Oh, did you jump back and try to hide from the thing that ambushed you? Okay, maybe you have some points in whatever the stealth equivalent is. Did you jump in front? Okay, well, maybe you have some strength or.
Exactly.
I actually wrote I'm going to plug myself. I wrote a discovery play for Altered State because I saw it in Hardsuit, and I thought for Altered State, where you have this ability to retune, basically wake up in a new body, very cyberpunk, right? What happens when that retune process is a little fuzzy? So I wrote a whole little setup for that. got a love out of that thing. I'm happy for that. But I think it's a really neat way to play. It can be hard for some players though. I will say that. Like I find that really new players and really old players both love that style, but somewhere in that middle point, people who like control over their character just are like, I don't know what to do here. It's very strange.
That's interesting. I've never done Discovery Play or GM that way, but I think I'd like to try it.
Something like Easy D6, it might be fun.
Yeah, I think I agree. What I like to try to do, like one of my like interior goals as a GM, even during a one shot, is to see how much I can shut off in terms of now I've got 3 characters talking to each other with me sitting back going, oh, this is great. I'm taking notes and I'm going to craft a story around what these guys are talking about. And I think that, GMs we're the gods, right? We're the gods of the world. But you know what? Sometimes it's fun to watch the people of the world do the work and then, give them the payoff. If they're going to spend all this time doing a plan, the last thing you want to do is goes, oh yeah, you unlock that door, but it's empty. Like, no, like if you got to change your story, change your story. Like,
I can't tell you how many times I have stopped myself in the middle of doing something and going, wait, what did that player say? And pulled that thread because it's more interesting than anything I had written down.
Right. And then they feel like, wow, you're a genius and I figured out your story. Well, no, you wrote the story, guy. And you know what? But you're going to remember that. And that's cool. And I think that as GMs, we have to kind of walk that line of control, right? Like you don't want, we have a lot of control, but do we really want to exercise it in a way that takes away from the experience of these 4 or 5 people making their story, interacting with their characters, doing what they want to do?
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, Steve, because I mentioned before I run a channel as well. And for the games that we streamed, I would actually, to prepare for the next game, I would go back and just listen to the prior game. And I found that when I listened to the prior game, just like Steve was saying, I started to, like, there would be these one-off comments that a player would make, like even a joke sometimes. And they would say something like, oh yeah, I'll bet it's like so-and-so and it's a big plot with whatever. And at the time it had zero to do with what my story was about. And what I thought the characters thought they were going after. And then I thought, wait a minute, actually, that's a pretty good idea. And I would steal from my own players and it would make the game so much better. And I wish I could take credit for that, but it's actually the players that I'm sort of stealing the ideas from. And with a one shot, it's really crucial to, like, for me anyway, to pay attention to those one-off silly comments that people are making, and maybe if I can quickly move things around a little bit so that I can, like Steve was sort of saying, I think before, like, form the story from these people talking, and I can step back.
Jerry, do you do Discovery Play? Were you talking about that earlier?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I love Discovery Play. After I found it out from, that's exactly where I found it too, Andrew, was the
Hardsuit.
Hardsuit. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Whole front section of that book is,
And then my favorite system that I've been playing in with my in-person group is Crown and Skull. And Crown and Skull has a really cool section on Discovery Play as well. So that's what I love to play. That's my system, and my players really love playing it too. And Discovery Play lends itself really well. And Hinker Infernal, Brandish Galehelm, he has some really good tips on how to do that. Yeah, so I'd encourage you to. It's actually, for me, Discovery Play alone was worth buying the book. So.
No, we went over Crown and Skull here on the channel, and that's a lot of what we do on the Morning Grind, has been in the past, is like going over RPGs live with everybody. And Crown and Skull, we did go over that one as well. So wait, so I was going to say that Better with Bacon did ask about channels or any other social media. So is that you, Matt?
Yeah, that's channel.
Okay.
I actually mostly focus on a lot of interviews and actual plays. So if anyone's into long form interviews and very long-winded actual plays.
Okay, I want to be sure I'm subscribed. If anybody has, I'm surprised it lets you post that link. So
Oh,
that's
really?
great. Yeah.
Did I
So
do
that
something?
No, you didn't. You didn't. Do people see that link actually?
Well, better with bacon.
Oh, it's all that.
I
Okay.
think.
Okay, fantastic. If it won't let you post a link, then post it. If you have a channel or you have some kind of social media, so we do want to be sure that everybody can connect with you if you're here, and it doesn't let you post an active link, post it in the Discords, in the private link, excuse me, in the private chat right here. Oh, there we go. So Andrew, okay, and then I will post it out to
So a
comments.
couple of the things I've been talking about are on my itch. I stepped away from social media for personal reasons, and I won't get into it. But yeah, I still do stuff on all my creations are up on itch. I think I've got a couple free ones and a couple of $3 to $5 things. The one I'm working on, yeah, you'll find Tales of McKay up there, the player's guide, which is all the necessary bits to get you started with that one.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. Yeah, and I want to go over and I want to make sure we find. I'll put that up. Let's see.
I've had real good success. People have, I think it was BGD talked about somebody ran my Hall of Lord Ashthorn, and they all died in the first room of that encounter. So that was yeah, we talked about that. I remember that. And I will say that actually got created, and I think you also mentioned the Think Deck for your Goblins game. I use the Think Deck a lot. It's one of my this with a couple of random tables does a great thing to spark your imagination, which for me is a huge part of like GM prep, one-shot prep, all that sort of thing.
So now,
look at me.
So yes, that's Andrew's. This is where you can find. There's the Tales of McKay, all of that here on itch.io.
Yep.
And then
it's also
now we've got the link.
I think it's also I just opened on drive-through because I had a few folks ping me and said they'd rather have it on drive-through, so I'm trying to get some stuff migrated over there too. But this is where I go first.
All right, and then it does look like it didn't actually put out that link, but I just put out that link.
Thank
So
you.
this
I
is
appreciate
Matt's
that.
channel right here. I'm going to subscribe right now. Now I am subscribed to you.
I'm on fire. One extra.
There we go.
One extra subscriber.
All right. So yes, so
Level
everybody
you up.
want to connect with Matt. There we go. If anybody else have channels that they run or anything like that, we definitely want to let everybody know about it. There was something that was said that I also think is a really great a point about these is the story arc and concluding this. So I would say for a one shot, don't let it fizzle. That it does, and it does need to end. Don't let it fizzle, and don't let it not end, because you're not coming back. You know, in the idea of a one shot, like don't let it not end or fizzle out. So that's you're also talking about the Matt. You were talking about the story structure with Joseph Campbell. We've talked a lot about that on the channels that I run, and that actually makes me think more about the structure in because that's a movie length. You got basically an extended movie length of time here. So you need to be doing certain things potentially at different times during that game. And the story structure has made me think more about that and how you would structure this kind of one shot. Because I'm thinking about that, okay, if you are doing character generation, I need to only spend 15 minutes on character generation. Then we need to be into the storytelling. What's the opening act? How are they going to be there? They might be starting in the middle of the action, something like that. But then am I halfway through? What needs to be going on? Or if you're going to the dungeon, if you're going to go to dungeon exploration, somebody said in here, we're starting at the dungeon door, which I think is a great way to start a one shot. Because you don't give, hey, the character, we got 5 different things you could do. You're looking at the board in the town, pick out which. There's no time for that. And I think you can just assume that everybody's going to play your adventure. If they're here,
it's the social contract of the one shot. You're here to do the thing.
Yeah,
you're going to do the thing.
I think that's a really important point, Heath. That was something I had, as an English teacher, I'm trying to instill in my students, this idea of originality and not following cliches and doing your own stuff. And the GM brain in me fought with the English teacher brain, because the English teacher brain is come on, you don't want to follow the cookie cutter mold for a screenplay. Because I actually come from a background. I used to work at a movie studio out in LA. And so I was so used to like that, that 3-act structure. And I thought, it's so predictable. It's so easy. We got to fight it. We got to like whatever. And I was sort of shooting my games in their own foot by not allowing that to happen. Like there is a little bit of kind of like following the tropes in some respects. But again, I think it's about what Steve is saying too. You also have to be prepared to subvert those tropes and also be prepared to grab those little nuggets from your players to give them things they're expecting, but at the same time, surprises. So Heath, I think that's like a really important like point. And actually, I would say one of the best things for budding game masters is to read like screenplay structure books. Like if you want to do specifically like one shots, like those are super helpful. Like if you're not going to become a famous screenwriter, I think it'll make you a hell of a good game master as far as like just managing a table and expectations. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think like things like the 5-room dungeon are great for one shots. If you're using story architecture from ICRPG, push it a little forward. Like I think it's a 9 thing set up in Master's Edition. There's like a stakes and a getting there and a thing. It's like skip the first 2, go to the right. That's why I like when I wrote Lord Ashthorn, I wanted that to be a good one-off game that people could bring to the table. And it's 3 rooms. It's a 3-room dungeon, and I wrote it that way so it could be short and punchy. You get good resolution at the end because you beat the bad guy, you save everybody. And that's kind of to me, like, I'm not writing Shakespeare and I realize that, but we can have a good time rolling some bones, talking about how we all got killed in the courtyard later, because that's fun, right? Like that, and there's a lot, and on the ICRPG side, it's about challenge tuning, right? Realizing when things are going too hard or too easy. For me, like a typical room in ICRPG is about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how the players are. So I can go, cool, I've got 3 hours, I can do 3 rooms, maybe a 4th if they go fast, and knowing how to pivot on that is important. I realized I didn't talk about how I started as a GM. I got thrown in when my group lost their GM because he moved away. So I am a very much seat of the pants GM. Like I started running with riffs, and if you've ever played or run riffs, it's
all Steve and I did for like
it's
quite a few years.
90s Gonzo.
Fusion, we're big fans of the fusion block.
I like the glitter boy myself. But yeah, it's a lot. Like that system's a lot. The world's a lot. But that's where I cut my teeth. So that brings like I literally had a player who played a dragon, turn into a bunny, and kick an NPC's head off because you can do that in that system. Because
through Palladium, anything is possible.
Yes. So that's kind of like that kind of gonzo crazy. Oh, you thought you had this on rails? Oh no, your players are going that way, friend. Like that kind of play is how I started, and I bring that to my now play, even with games like Blades and ICRPG, any of that stuff. You just got to be aware. In a one shot though, like you tend to not have that. I'm gonna rule this back, I swear. Like one shots are really typically on the rails unless you're a really good GM, which I am not. I'm a decent GM who can make it work. But like one shots need to be on rails so that it doesn't have to be perfectly on the rails, right? You got room A goes into 1 and 2, and then that can go into 3 and 4. Like you can have some flow in it, but it's got to be, here is the thing you're trying to do. It's not, oh, you now want to go talk to the barmaid in the bar. We're going to spend 2 hours doing that. Okay. That's why I started in the action, right?
Yeah. And I think, Andrew, to that point, especially with one shots, what I try to do with not every possible combat situation, but always have it be the choice of the players whether they actually want to engage in the combat or not. Because a lot of players play RPGs for tactical reasons, and they like that, and that's the thrill they get out of the game, and that's perfectly acceptable, and I'm not knocking it. But other players also like to resolve issues in different ways, and so if all your combat encounters can also be diplomacy encounters, I think it gives the players a lot more control. I don't think the GM should ever say in an easy D6, you don't even say it, but the GM shouldn't be the one saying roll for initiative. The character should be the one that says, I want to attack, and sometimes I think GMs forget that. And I think it's important that we give the players the option, and your story has to have the option of being resolved without everybody dying. Right.
Yeah, I think you have to play to the different strengths of your players, and or allow the players to sort of do what they want to do. And that's kind of what I mean about like reading the players, especially in a one shot. Like you have to quickly, it's not easy. Like you have to quickly sort of evaluate who's the cerebral player, who's the one that wants to like just cut heads off, who's the one that wants to like solve a mystery, who's the one, and sort of quickly identify that. And then that's why like those pillars that you have, like 3-4 of them throughout the spread of the game, should have like solutions that are maybe it should be like a Rosetta Stone. Like you could sort of solve it from different sides of that stone.
I will contend as a GM, I never solution my problems. I will let my players do it. That's I blame Blades in the Dark for that, because it's very much I don't roll anything, you roll, and we're gonna roll. Like it's play to find out what happens in the real. It gets fishy. It gets a little like, oh, this is like I'm in the deep end. I don't know what's going on, but you got to trust players. But that's up to you. I mean, I could see where here are some options, but if the players go, this thing over here, I'm going to grab it and do this thing. It's like I think you said something about a lantern and a bladder of oil earlier. My brain went, cool, that's a flamethrower.
Right. That's how I used it. Bingo. That's what we did.
Yeah. And I had a friend of mine like talk about that kind of thought process is very OSE. I'm like, no, that's just what you do when you don't, like, everything's an option if you let it.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead. Somebody else.
So to circle back maybe to Heath's original question, like,
did he have a question? We all just started talking.
Well, no. I think this has all been good, because it was Heath. Weren't you asking about how mechanically and conceptually what makes a good one shot, right?
Right. Yes. Right. Yes.
So formulate, like, I don't have a formula per se, but what I do is I'm kind of like Micah. I think about D&D a lot throughout the day, and I'm just like, dude, mechanically, like, I just watched this movie, or hey, I was out on a walk and I got this inspiration, and so step one for me is always, man, it takes a lot of like mental fortitude and energy to DM or GM. And so I get that from inspiration. Oh, hey, this would be cool if, and then I use my next step is, okay, mechanically, we have to take a look at this. And so I use ICRPG's 3 T's, your timer, your threat, and your treat. And then, all right, what would be cool as far as we talked a lot about story structure, which I think is really, really, really crucial. And having an act 1, act 2, act 3. And so when you sit down at the table, all right, you know the direction you're going, but your players don't. So in the first 10 seconds, let's get that out on the table. All right, the rebels have been attacked by the Empire and they're carrying a secret message. We're going to have the droids take it to Tatooine. Okay, great. Now what do we do? And then you know who the good guys are, the bad guys, the plot, and now we're just going to run with it. And that, to me, those 3 things, right? Get your inspiration, make 3 rooms, maybe. That's what I do with your 3 T's, and then give the players a direction that is coherent, and that's kind of what I do, and it works really well. So
there's advice in the master edition of the Index Card RPG that talks about thinking session focused, even if you are doing a campaign. And I think that's ultra important when you're doing the one shot, but I do like that thinking too, because if you're thinking about a campaign, oh, I've got something really cool that's going to be coming down the line, what I'm building toward or something. It's got to be cool now. It's got to be cool right now, and you got to give people because that's like saying, no, I got this really cool thing that's going to happen. That'll happen in the 6th movie that I do. The 6th that nobody's going to get there. So you got to give it, and so thinking like that for the one shot, in that sense, it's like a series of one shots. What is the coolest thing that I can do for these people right now, in order to give them a lot of fun?
I think the advantage you have when you leave that campaign mindset, like, I want to do the ultimate 1 to 20 campaign. You set up the stakes at the front end of, here are the players in the game. Let's see how it plays out. This is, and that playing the next session mindset came to me. Index card when I ran my first Powered by Apocalypse game is Monster of the Week. So when I ran that, like running that game, you can't run that game as a campaign because you got to figure out what this monster is doing this week. Thusly the name, right? And if you look at shows that are Monster of the Week style, right? Buffy, Supernatural, early seasons of those shows, very self-contained, but they had these sprinklings of the campaign arc. How do they do that, right? How do we do that as GMs is how you have to think about it. Cool. We talked to this NPC in three sessions ago. Let me bring him back in to show continuity. You saw this cult a couple of days ago. What are they doing now? To me, I run Blades this way is where and Blades encourages this, right? It's factions. So when you start thinking about what the factions are doing outside of your players and you're rolling dice to see what that does, all this stuff, that makes your campaign happen because the world I think Trevor Duvall says this on Me, Myself, and Die. The players push on the world, and the world pushes back. Yeah. That to me makes that play happen. But we can't force that, right?
I think that's like it's interesting that you bring that up because but you talk about Buffy and actually I used to work at Fox during that era, right? And so I worked. So the X-Files was the one that I was semi a part of, and so there's like the Monster of the Week episodes, but they all have a grander overall mythology to them. And I think it's important to learn how to trust those one-off episodes and be able to draw from them later and allow, like Heath was saying, you don't want to save everything for like the last film. Like people sometimes conceptualize things on such a grand scale, even a campaign, that they forget about the fact that we come back every week, not waiting for what's going to happen 6 episodes from now, but for that magic that we kind of create in those moments and that excitement that we have like right there. And so you can watch like an episode of the X-Files and, every once in a while when there's an opportunity, they drop like nuggets in there that all string together into the overall mythology of the show. And I think that that's like super important when you're kind of looking at a one shot versus like an overarching story. Both of them, for all the talk of them being very different, they're essentially the same in that you have to hold a human being's attention, all 4 or 5 people's attention for that whole thing. And at the end of it, they all have to be like, we really did something, and they have to talk about it and want maybe more to happen or feel a sense of satisfaction or feel a sense of movement forward in something. And like, I think that that's super like crucial.
Well, what else do we need to say? We've been talking for about an hour and a half here, which could be a pretty good length here. I don't know how much time everyone has, but I do want to point out that the Titter Pig Rancher, but this is a really cool panel. This has been an excellent discussion. This has been great. And we should talk more. I mean, we could typically on the morning grind, it's just me and we're working on, we're either doing an RPG, reviewing an RPG, learning how to play, or lately doing development stuff like that. And we would have conversations over on the Table Talk channel. But this is also a fantastic way, having conversations on the morning grind like this is also great. It's fantastic to have you, and I hope that we don't lose touch because there's probably a lot more stuff that we could say.
Yeah, this is great. I love not having to run the stream or worry about like titles and intros. This is so good. I'm just here. I got like my cup of water. I got some hot chocolate. I'm just like people let me talk and say whatever I want.
You sound so smart too. Good job.
Yeah, I feel great.
Well, do we want to go around and let everybody wrap up? Let everybody know where they can find you, or we know that I'll put up the CRIT link. Let me bring this up again.
Well,
the main link right here. Here's where you need to be going to get in on the gaming. But you want to start, Andrew?
I feel bad. I didn't even talk about our mascot.
Oh, we'll talk now. Do it.
Our little guy Trip. If you were around last year, you saw Trip in his cyberpunk form. This is him in his Western Ghost Mountain form. He's I'll be quick about this. He came about because we started CRIT the year that Crown and Skull came out, and Crown and Skull's got frog people in it. and one of the Big Frog people in the game, like I kind of wanted to use similar for us, and for me, Trip is a character who's bouncing through gaming realities. So he'll change. We're hoping to change his costume every year, so he's a little different and all that sort of things. That's our frog guy, Trip. I may have made him an NPC in a couple of my games last year, who showed up and helped the party. But that's Crit.
Seeing some. I see if I can do that.
Yeah, remind me. I'll send you some. Come on, he can be goblins. Anyway, so I'm Andrew. I'm on the interwebs. 2716 Gaming is my little company. It's just me, so it's not much of a company, but you'll find that on itch.io. This is me. All this is for Index Card, as you can see on the 10. I did have a collab with Dread Maps, which was really fun to write up for him. If you've not seen him, he's amazing. Yeah, I'm running 4 sessions during this year's crit. Hopefully I'll get to play in 1 or 2 and see y'all out at the table.
All right. Micah?
All right. Yeah, I'm not really on YouTube or anything, but you can find me on Instagram at Art by Micah Green. I do a lot of drawing. I'm not crazy active on Instagram at the moment, but I'm starting to pick up a little bit more steam. I noticed once I got set up here with the light coming in through the window here, I actually have the same lighting on my face that I use in 90% of my drawings.
That's where it comes from, right? Don't we all sort of artists draw themselves, right? Because they learn from their face first.
Yeah, but it's like the backlighting with the dark outfit. But yeah, so I am also running 4 games for Crit. They are all at the 11 a.m. to I think 2 p.m. Eastern time. So kind of like middle of the day for us American types, or towards the evening if you're out in Europe. I've got a weird schedule, so that works out pretty well for me. Yeah, that's got some art online, and I'm pretty active on the various ICRPG Discord. Looking forward to rolling some dice and meeting more people and all that good stuff.
All right. Steve?
Okay, so I am running 3 games for Crit Week. 2 Easy D6 fantasy games and 1 Wasted World, which is, for my money, so much like it's the next level of fun because it's post-apocalyptic and like post-apocalyptic with crazy sci-fi. Not quite crazy as Rift, but close with all that stuff. So yeah, if you want to join in on those games, that's great. You can find me on Discord at I don't know if it's the Easy D6 Discord or it's the DM Scotty's Discord, but basically the one that's got all the talk about Easy D6. And I'm lurking in there under the handle Kanaras. And yeah, hit me up. I'm probably going to run a couple of play tests for these games, so I don't want to. If you can't make the Crit Week, if it's a conflict with the Crit Week, maybe you want to run in a play test.
All right. And then Matt?
So I'll be running 2 games for Crit. I believe that they're on dueling Saturdays. So they're 2 different games. So one is Poison Tigers and the other is the Rainy Season. So you're more than welcome to sign up for those. I would love to have you. I think there's one thing that we kind of we didn't mention here, and one of the things, like I remember I heard someone say, or I read someone say earlier on in the chat, they said, well, conventions are not really for me. And I know this sounds odd, as an introvert that I am, I found that actually going to conventions and meeting people through the games I play was probably one of the best things that could kind of happen for me. And I really enjoy a lot of the people that I play with end up becoming, at least like internet friends. And I often collaborate with them. And when I say collaborate, I don't mean like work together. I mean, I just like hang out with, we have discussions, things like that. So everyone is welcome to join my games. If you're interested in seeing more of my ugly mug, you'll find me on YouTube. My channel is called Manufactured Myth and Ledger Domain. I know that's ridiculous, but yeah, thank you. It's a ridiculous. It's almost as long as my handle, the cat who walks through walls. So I usually go by Cat Who Walks 99 on Blue Sky and on another platform which will not be named. So if you're looking for me, you can find me in those places. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to play with you. I'd love to discuss things with you. Please join me.
All right. And Jerry. Sorry. Wrong
go
button. ahead. I was on you, and I meant to swap over to your game, but I hit the wrong button and took you off.
Oh, no, no worries. I agree wholeheartedly with what's been said in today's panel, especially with what Matt just said. I'm going to be DMing 5 games using both ICRPG and Crown and Skull. So if you've never played Crown and Skull or something, I'd love to have you either way. And you can contact me on Discord channel. My name, Jerry Whiting, and then 13, the number 13. You can DM me there. But I think a lot of what the feeling is behind CRIT is just we want to bring mirth and positivity and joy and resilience. I think that's what TTRPGs really do best. That, hey man, you can do hard things, and man, if the world needs anything right now, it's that. And I think that CRIT really does a fantastic job of doing that, of meeting new people and from all walks of life, and realizing, hey, we have so much more in common than we do than we have differences, that we really ought to be more united than not. So I just want to thank everyone in the panel, and Heath, thanks for hosting, and Chris Bynum, thanks for putting this together. So anyway,
yes, Chris put us all together, and yeah, thank you for showing up and being here, everybody. This has been great. So yeah, let's not lose touch. I'm not as active on a whole bunch of other Discord servers as I should be, but I'll try to drop by. But yeah, you can always message me on Discord, and I will get back to you. And thank you all for being here, and thank you to everybody who's been watching. We'll put this out in other locations, and because we've talked about a lot of great things, I think, about the style of gaming and structures of one shot and things like that. So everybody, go sign up for CRIT. Go sign up to play some games. Thank you, Stray, for putting that's the Ravenkeep Discord server. If you're here and you'd like to join the Ravenkeep Discord server, and whenever I'm going live and on different channels and things like that. All right. Bye, everybody. Go forth. I'm going to be working on my material this afternoon. So everybody,
you got to get your game ready.
Yeah. I got to work on game stuff. All right. Go forth, be creative, everybody, and grind on. Later.